Welcome to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, the host and senior engagement officer at Merlin, and today's episode features a replay from our Merlin X Spaces. Every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., you can catch us live on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. We dive into captivating discussions about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology with our engaged audience, special guests, and the founders of Merlin. Please note, these spaces can sometimes experience technical hiccups and end suddenly. It's all part of the experience. Thanks for tuning into the Crypto Market Update, proudly brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto.
Hey, what's up, Gonzo? Just want to test the audio, and then we'll get started pretty soon.
Yeah, I can hear you. I was almost going to hit you up on WhatsApp to be like, hey, I don't hear anything, so I thought maybe you were talking. But can you hear me okay? Because I'm in the car.
Yeah, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. You know, like, it's the first day back after a long vacation. And so just, we're in a really good mood and just, just getting a lot of work done and just getting, catch up, especially with the market and the different charts.
Were you able to see the BlackRock and Ripple news from today when Brad Garlinghouse went on Bloomberg?
No, I didn't see that yet. In between stuff, I think I was working on some Merlin video, and then I was just like looking at charts. But I'm sure you're going to tell me all about it.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. He was just talking about how he was like, I can't say anything publicly, but they've already indicated it. Like, it would be best for the community if an XRP ETF was launched with BlackRock.
Oh, he basically made mention of that?
Yep.
And I'm not surprised. You figure something like that is coming, especially when you see like an Ethereum ETF is so close. And that's literally what we need, that narrative. Like whether the SEC approves it or not, but the narrative alone will start to push up price, right? And then that just brings attention and then kind of takes on a life of its own. I always say this about the Ethereum spot ETF. I think it's going to get approved because of the Bitcoin one. We've talked about the law and how that comes into play. But even if it doesn't, it's the narrative that's pushing the price up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of different companies. Like now that Bitcoin's already increased in price and there's big banks talking to the SEC, I think we're going to see a bunch of new companies filing for Bitcoin ETFs as well.
Yeah, we definitely have to. It's going to be interesting. We're going into the election year, and if we do get a change in power, to see if we're going to get that shift in the sentiment at the SEC, right? Because if Gary Gensler is still there and there's a shift in sentiment, then we know what we already kind of knew gets confirmed, that he was being handled by other people, Elizabeth Warren, right? And so, especially with everything that we talked about this morning with John Deaton, I hope he dethrones her. I think he's a really good guy. I know that a lot of people have talking about his book that he has, so I'm kind of interested in reading it, just knowing his story. But he just sounds like a really good person, and he's very authentic, and he's very relatable. So, dude, I hope he wins.
On a side note, Gonzo, what are some of the things that you're watching right now other than like Bitcoin and Ethereum? Are there any projects, maybe even some low cap projects that you find interesting? I've been looking at like API 13. That's that artificial intelligence token. There's also Fetch AI. Both those have caught my attention. Anything that you're watching?
Yeah, like the AI narrative has been running now for a couple of weeks. So you saw like Render, Akash, Azos, and the other ones are kind of in that space. So it's kind of rolled over to decentralized storage because, again, I feel like in order to use those projects, you need storage space, right? We have a shortage of GPUs. And then when you talk about AWS and Google Cloud, and all those things are very expensive. And so for these companies, they're going to look for a cheaper avenue, which is decentralized. So what I'm paying attention to is just kind of new projects that are going to come out in 2024 that are in that kind of C10 narrative that have to do with AI. Like Render does a very good job of rendering, metaverse and crypto gaming. One thing that they don't do extremely well is the computer, the languaging, right? The AI language model, right? You need those really super high end NVIDIA chips for that. And so you have these projects that have partnerships with NVIDIA that are rolling out, right? Aether is one of them, where they have like this whole business model where they have a partnership with NVIDIA. They have those high end chips already, and they're going to rent those out to people. The real interesting one is IO.net, not out yet, but that's built on Solana, so they have a partnership with Render. So I could see a real big partnership between Render and IO.net, because like IO.net fills the gap where Render is kind of lacking. Again, access to those NVIDIA chips. They have a partnership. I think NVIDIA is an investor inside of IO.net. So something else I'm paying attention to. There's another project called Gamein, which is kind of in that same narrative, where it's about computer gaming and gamers that have extra GPU power with their computers because they're usually souped up. And so they're able to kind of rent that thing out. These are all kind of new business models. Again, these are projects for this cycle. This is not something that you're going to hold to the future. We talked about this on Good Morning Crypto, that I believe that the metaverse narrative of last cycle is kind of like the IA of this AI of this cycle, right? We still don't know how it's going to play out, which business models are going to survive. They're going to pump very hard, but it's nothing that I would hold into the bear market.
It's interesting too. We're seeing a lot of big companies, first of all, buy crypto, and then we're seeing a lot of big companies selling their stocks right now. I've been covering Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all the big prominent billionaires. They've been dumping huge portions of their portfolio since the end of 2023. So I'm wondering, do they know something we don't when it comes to stock portfolios? We're also seeing the US dollar index crashing, and that's leading to crypto pumping as well. People forget this isn't just an American market, it's a global market. And the more the dollar dominance falls, the higher crypto will pump in the long run. I just want to remind people this space is brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto. We allow you to take all of your different portfolio trackers, wallets, exchanges, track them in one location, and you can do it 30 days absolutely free. So click on the link and check it out if you haven't already checked it out. But Gonzo, one of the things I wanted to mention as well is Flare. Flare is another exciting project that I've been looking into. When DeFi enters the market on a global scale, we're going to see so much liquidity flood into some of these smaller projects. And Flare, it sounds like it's a small token. I believe it's like in the top 70, top 80 here. I'm just going to check. But it relatively is, it's less than $1 billion in total market cap. So looking at previous bull runs, we know that when the altcoin market is pumping, it's liquidity waves moving through individual tokens. We're going to see
AVAX pump for a day, Chainlink pump for a day, XRP pump for a day. All of the liquidity waves happen at different periods of time, but they're all in a 3 to 4 month time frame. So it's an exciting time to be an investor, whether you have Chainlink, XRP, or something as small as Flare. That's another thing that I'm going to be watching heading into late 2024. But we titled this Spaces, institutions are buying Bitcoin, altcoins are coming soon, and Anthony Pompliano hinted at this on Good. We showed this on Good Morning Crypto too, Gonzo, where Pompliano was talking about how he said once the TradFi guys get access to these altcoins, they're going to come in like sharks on small fish, right? Something along those lines. That probably wasn't the total quote that we had there, but I found it really, really interesting. So I wanted to get some of your thoughts. Like, what do you think is going to happen to some of these altcoins when big companies like Fidelity and Citibank get regulation, and then they have the green light to buy tons of these tokens?
I think it's going to move the price action really high. I mean, you think about, like, compared to Bitcoin, you've seen how hard Bitcoin's pumped, but these projects are smaller market cap, compared to, like, even Ethereum. Like, Ethereum's the king, and then you have Solana, you have XRP. But as you go down the risk curve, these smaller market cap tokens, that we've got big market cap, then kind of average, and then small. If they get into some of these small, large amounts of money, move price action up, right? And so that's where it really starts to get crazy as they move down the risk curve. And I think that, as 2024 plays out and you have the Fed eventually having to cut rates because of probably some banks going insolvent. He's already kind of said it in the 60-minute interview. They asked him if he was worried, and he said he's not, because we understand that, JP Morgan's not going under. They're just going to absorb these smaller banks. And it's probably like last time it had to do with the treasury bonds. I think this time it's going to have to do with real estate property, banks that are overexposed into real estate. And there are a few. I think there's one that's not very big, but it's in New York City. I don't remember the name of it is, but they're basically insolvent. They're way overexposed. And so when the bank funding program ends in March, that's where they Fed was backstopping all of the deposits. It's going to be really interesting what happens, right? Which is going to line up with the Bitcoin halving, which lines up with the lunar eclipse and all the other things that come. So, whatever happens, I think it's an opportunity, and those opportunities are shrinking, right? Earlier in the cycle, it's very forgiving. So if you buy something, even on a green day, you're okay, right? Because eventually, even if it corrects, price action comes back up and then it passes. But as we get further down the cycle, those mistakes are less and less forgiving because now you're buying top, right? And so, we're not there yet, but you talked about it a little bit earlier. That's how the money flows, right? Like, we get all these different projects that'll pop off at different times. So it's just a matter of, as we get down the cycle, not being too crazy about moving around and just kind of sit in your project, sit on your hands, be patient, and just have a plan to exit those projects and then just pull your profit.
And that's where Merlin comes into the picture, guys. Having an exit plan and knowing where you're going to sell these tokens during the bull run, that's half the battle. The psychological wall we all have when it comes to hitting the sell button, that's something you have to get over. And the easiest way to do it is doing it in small increments. Selling 1%, 2% of your portfolio just to get in the habit of clicking the sell button is going to be big, especially during a bull run. Gonzo, what else is on your mind? Because I have a bunch of topics prepared when it comes to Jeff Bezos. We've got BlackRock news. I've also wanted to discuss how quickly institutions are picking up Bitcoin right now, as they already own over 1.2% of the circulating supply, and the spot ETF has only existed for 27 days. So that's a pretty crazy stat. Wait until we're 6 months out and they control 10% of this market. I think the prices are going to be dramatically different. But what are some of your thoughts?
That's really funny too, because you think about the ethos of Bitcoin and where it came from, right, and how it started. And where it's now become, right? Like, you got all these Bitcoin maxis that are inviting the wolf into the hen house, right? And it is what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, it seems like, especially lately, what's happened with the XRP army and just people being frustrated and capitulating about XRP and price action, is that's really what they're focused on, right? And so I've talked about this, like the other side of the coin. It's great right now when they're buying it up and they're pushing the price action up. But remember, they're not believers in Bitcoin. They're not the Michael Saylors of the world that they're just here to hold this thing forever, right? When it hits a certain number, they're going to pull profit, right? And there's going to be sell pressure. And we don't know what that looks like. We know what the buy pressure looks like, right? Number go up. What we don't know is how bad is that affected when they start like dumping this in the future. right? And so maybe that's what kicks off the next bear market. So that's just something that I'm paying attention to. I'm always kind of forward looking. So I'm always kind of trying to see like, okay, well, what'll be the excuse to like end this thing and then take us down to the other side, right? Like what we saw in 2022, because these cycles continue to repeat and they're going to repeat at least until we get regulation, right? And this really becomes the 12th sector. We're still going to get some type of volatility and some type of cycle.
I agree with you, Gonzo. And even if we just look at what happened during the prior halvings, the data tells us we're going to get a 2.5x from whatever the price of Bitcoin is on the date of the halving. So if Bitcoin's $50,000, at least according to the data from previous cycles, we should get to a $175,000 peak during this cycle. That sounds optimistic to me, but when you listen to some people like Mark Yusko and Anthony Scaramucci and some of the guys who were on CNBC, they have dramatically higher price targets, even going as high as $250,000. So it's not like these are outlandish. And I think that when big money comes into this market, it starts with Bitcoin, but it eventually trickles through the altcoins as well. And even looking at legitimate projects like HBAR is only $3.5 billion in total market cap. You've got VeChain, that's $3 billion. There's also Quant Network, that's only $1.3 billion in total market cap. Flare Network, another token that's only $1 billion. So there's a ton of opportunity here. And if $10 billion floods into any of these projects, you're looking at a 10 or 11x, which is pretty insane if you think about it, Gonzo.
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw we got. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we're always looking at market cap, and I do think it's important. But I think once like it gets really crazy, because right now, like we've got some institutions, you have like some of the smaller investment firms that are still kind of working through the paperwork to be able to get into this like space, right? So we kind of just have the people that have been here since the beginning, right? Like to just stay in the cycle like us. You have some of the people that lost money last time that are kind of coming back, but we don't even have retail yet back in yet, right? Like a lot of the analytics on YouTube, on X, and on the other social media platforms tell us that the numbers are still very low, right? We haven't gotten that full blown FOMO, but when this thing really does kick off, sometimes the market cap balloons up really, really big, right? Depending on what our total market cap is going to end up. If we end up at 5 trillion, like Mark Yusko says, or some other people have said somewhere between 7 and 10 trillion, right? Last cycle it was 3 trillion. Some of these market caps are going to balloon up pretty big, and I think it's going to get pretty crazy.
And think about this too, Gonzo. First of all, welcome in, Mario. I'm going to kick it straight to you. Think about this. If the market's only at $2 trillion today, and Yusko thinks it's going to get to 5, the math tells us that Bitcoin should be at least 2.5 trillion when that occurs. So that takes us to $175,000 price target. Very, very interesting. So it really is adding up with the halving math that we did before. But Mario, how you feeling? And thanks for being here, bro.
I am feeling good. Good to be here. I hope you guys are all doing great. Happy I made it for a few minutes. It was good I got a little bit of the conversation, and that's a very interesting topic. Like I love talking about this because I feel like we are in the precipice of something, huge as far as the crypto market, but at the same time, like there's a few narratives happening, and we have like two sides of the spectrum, right? Like we have the people that are like, yeah, it's the cycle, we're just repeating, we're going to do the same thing as last time. And then we have people that are saying, well, but the economic circumstances around the world are not really they're not really favorable for Bitcoin or the crypto market to go in this bull run. So I'm super excited to see what happens. I think regardless, for me personally, I am expecting the market to repeat the cycle because history has told us that that's what keeps happening time and time again. And now that we have institutions, they know that too. And I feel like because of the ETFs, it's within their interest to keep the the hype around Bitcoin and the brand Bitcoin, which obviously then trickles down into crypto. So I think it's within their interest to keep this hype positive so that they can continue to attract investors into into the new products that they're offering. But at the same time, I'm keeping an eye on the macroeconomic circumstances. Like we have very different situations, or like we have very different metrics happening this time. Like some of the things that we had the previous bull runs, we don't have them this time around. Like we don't have the money printing, we don't have the really low interest rates. So I want to see how that plays out. Nonetheless, for me personally, like I said, I'm looking at a cycle that will somewhat repeat itself. Now, can it be a little bit more suppressed because of the economic situations happening. That's what I think. I think what you said as far as 175,000, I see that. For me personally, I'm looking more towards 130 to 150. That's kind of what I think Bitcoin will top this time around. I could be wrong. Absolutely. That's just my personal opinion. But nonetheless, I think there's tremendous potential for altcoins. And I think that there's a lot of altcoins that are going to do extremely well this time around. And I think XRP might be one of them, especially because of the regulatory clarity that it has.
Marion, just to add to your point really quick, think about how many low cap tokens there are that are exciting projects as well, like HBAR. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but there's a lot of projects right now that are exciting that are about $1 billion in total market cap. Flare token, Quant Network. We've also got Gala, like there's gaming tokens. And when the crypto bull run comes around, it's going to pump in sectors. We're going to see Ethereum pump, then we'll see the altcoins, then we'll see the low caps, we'll see meme coins, we'll see AI, gaming, NFTs. I remember it from last time, and I think we're going to see something very similar. And even though there isn't as much money printing going on, there is more money in circulation this time because of all the money printing that they did just 3 years ago. So it's actually a really good thing for the crypto market, considering how small it is. But what do you think about some of the smaller projects, like putting XRP to the side? What are some of the lower cap altcoins that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Abs. Like we've been seeing a lot of the lower cap coins already explode, and a lot of them have done more than a 10x at this point. But like I'm keeping an eye on some of the gamings that we've talked about and that Johnny primarily talks about. Very recently, I got into. I'm gonna tell you right now. Let me look at my list here. I got into speculation, just speculation, because we're in the year of the dragon, and this is more of a, esoteric speculation play. I got into some dragon coins, so I got into this Tsuka, TSUKA. I got into this coin because it's a dragon-based meme coin. And then I also accumulated a little bit of Super, and I recently got into what was the other one that I just got this weekend? I believe it was I don't remember right now. But yeah, those were the ones that I just got recently. So those are the ones that are like more of the lower market cap that I got into recently.
That's pretty cool. Myra's also been performing well. It's another gaming token that's just,
Yep.
It has a pretty interesting price chart if anybody wants to check it out. But Johnny Crypto, welcome in, my friend. How you feeling?
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? How's everybody doing tonight?
Great. How you feeling, Johnny?
I'm feeling good. I'm a little bit, actually, I'm a little tired. I ain't gonna lie. It's been a busy, back to back, nonstop meeting day. But that's just life. It is what it is, and we just continue to press forward in this exciting new world of cryptocurrency.
Well, to give you guys a little bit of good news in regards to Ripple and XRP, I don't know if everybody saw it by now, but Brad Garlinghouse was on Bloomberg Crypto earlier today. And they asked him, are you discussing creating an XRP ETF with BlackRock? And the way that he responded, we're definitely going to show the clip on Good Morning Crypto tomorrow. We do have Waters Above joining us, but I'll make sure to play it in the beginning. The way he responded was even worse than Larry Fink. Remember the Larry Fink clip we showed a couple of weeks ago, Johnny, where he goes, "Oh, we're not gonna address anything directly." Well, this was even worse. Brad Garlinghouse said, "I know that BlackRock's made a couple of statements publicly, but we're not going to talk about that right now. I think it's great for the XRP community overall." That was his statement. So it's very interesting. I don't know if you got to see the clip, but let me know if you did.
No, I did not see the clip. I've been in back to back meetings all day. So, but obviously, I think the whole world knows. We all know that there are going to be a shit ton of ETFs coming in the crypto space, and certainly XRP will definitely be one of those at some point in time, in my opinion. But I do want to give a shout out to Mario and Gonzo and the rest of the 3T family that's here. Thank you guys for joining tonight, and for everybody else who's here. Appreciate you guys joining and listening, and we hope everybody comes up to speak and contribute, because that's what we want this to be, a community effort.
Hey, Abs, you know what I did see today? I saw the video of Charles Hoskinson again sharing some of his opinions about the XRP community in some of the comments. So I don't know if you guys saw that one, but
Mario, listen, I wasn't
what a way to start it up.
I wasn't going to bring it up because I know it touches Johnny very close to home whenever we talk about Charles. He gets very defensive when it comes to family, and I wouldn't want to talk about Charles on the program without his permission. But I
All
found that
right,
clip to be very
that's no, no,
interesting.
no, no, no. This is where I draw the line. As Mario, not only did we play it, we played it on the air, but Abs has now pulled a Larry Fink WWE heel turn, and he is now one of Charles' biggest fans. So I don't know if you saw that, but that was breaking news yesterday and today on Good Morning
I
Crypto.
did not. I
Oh
gotta
yeah,
see that.
he is such a Cardano fan now. It's not even funny. Every other day he's talking about Charles, and he talks about I don't like Charles, but obviously he talks so much about him. When you talk that much about people, you obviously like them.
It's a love-hate relationship, Johnny. It's kind of like your first crush in middle school. You know what I mean?
It's okay. I'm glad to see you came to the dark side. You definitely want to have some Cardano in your bags moving forward because you don't want to miss that train when that bad boy leaves the station. Because whether you love or hate Charles, I don't know the guy. I don't love him. I don't hate him, but I like his technology. I think he's doing some good things with it. And I think someday people are going to look and go, wow, how did we miss this one? While everybody's looking at Solana, nobody's looking at Cardano. That's going to be a big miss.
Mario, I don't know if you have a follow-up to that because I found that I want to hear what your thoughts were on Charles' video before we move on. Earlier today, we played it on Good Morning Crypto, and this was my biggest takeaway. People are now acknowledging that ETHgate was true, but they think the justice system isn't going to hold anyone accountable, so we shouldn't pay attention. Now, I'm not talking about Johnny. I'm talking about what Charles had to say during that short clip that we played. And I mean, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I really don't. I don't know what to say because when it comes to that type of stuff, when it comes to Bill Hinman being prosecuted for ETHgate, I know nothing about if that's going to take place. That's why I always defer to Johnny when it comes to the litigation. I know crypto. I don't know litigation. That's for sure, Mario. But let me know some of your thoughts, and then I'd like to hear from Gonzo as well.
Yeah, look, I definitely think he voiced his opinion much better this time around. Like he was way more clear as far as what he believes, what he doesn't believe, and he he poised a good argument as far as like if you have any proof about the government specifically coming after XRP for other intentions, then prove it. And he didn't deny ETHgate, so I definitely think he did a much better job. I still think that like he's not, he says that the XRP community is not looking to make peace, but at the same time, like, I mean, it goes both ways, right? And he's obviously in the defensive, so I get it. But, I just don't think that some of the comments that he made are really going to come across as trying to set peace at this point. But I definitely think he did a much better job of explaining himself and kind of, putting himself in a position where he explained ETHgate and that he's okay, he sees that and he knows that Ethereum is going to do what Ethereum wants to do. And I also think he made a great point as far as like some of the stuff doesn't make sense. It's like why would you want to argue that ETH could be a security when in reality that's going to affect the XRP status and therefore the remaining of crypto. So I thought that was a good point that he made.
That is a good point. And I think maybe I can be over exaggerated sometimes when I'm making jokes. I think Charles is brilliant, and I do
Can
think
I
that he.
add something?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm about to hit a blind spot, and so you might lose me a second, but I'll come back. But you know what would be the biggest? Like Johnny's always talking about the big heel turn. The biggest heel turn would be the SEC under new management after the election going after Bill Hinman, right? Because we know that their ethics department has been, they've been kind of doing this loose investigation that's been going on for a while. But I don't think Empower Oversight is going to let it go. So I think if we end up with the same, president, then maybe nothing happens. But maybe if we get a new president, there's something to be done. And you want to talk about the biggest heel turn, the SEC turning on its own and then kind of just shifting their narrative on how they feel against crypto. That would be an even bigger heel turn than than BlackRock or Larry Fink changing his views on Bitcoin. Don't you think?
I agree, Gonzo. I think so. Johnny, what are some of your thoughts?
There'll be no bigger heel turn in the world than Jamie Dimon. That's the heel turn I'm waiting. When that one happens, crypto is here to stay forever.
Oh, I think we lost the audio there, Johnny.
Tabs, can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Oh, I didn't have much to say other than I just think that the biggest heel turn in WWE crypto heel turn would be Jamie Dimon.
I mean, I think we already saw with Larry Fink, right? Like, if you told people 2 years ago that Larry Fink was going to be talking about how Bitcoin is an international asset, an international store of value, you know, it's like we're living in the what do they call it? Like the upside down world. You know what I mean? We've entered an alternate universe over here.
A make believe world, right? Yeah.
Gonzo, what do you think?
I kind of lost you there for a little bit. If you can hear me, I think you meant the Bizarro world, like Bizarro Superman.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Bizarro.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the interview with Charles. I mean, like I said, I was more focused on his updates on Cardano and the things that are coming to Cardano. They've got starting that's coming. They've got ZK rollups that are coming that look like they're going to be more efficient than they are on Ethereum. And then what I was telling you about was Midnight, right? Which is private smart contracts. When you think about like certain government entities and even some companies that need a public wallet and a private wallet, those private smart contracts are going to be a big deal. So, they have a huge treasury, 750 million right now at current Cardano prices. There's a lot of governance that's being developed. Like the Cosmos ecosystem is number one in governance, but I think Cardano is building out their governance, and so that's going to be huge. So yeah.
I agree with you. Sorry,
I think
Gonzo. Sorry. Mario, you can take the floor and then I'll continue. Sorry, I thought Johnny was open for comments.
yeah, I could hear Johnny typing away.
I thought he unmuted for comments, so I was going to let him go. I'm like, oops.
But yeah, I didn't really watch anything else that Charles said. I only listened to the part where he was addressing XRP, and so, but I think that what Gonzo and Johnny were said are spot on. I think Cardano has obviously tremendous potential, and they've been building. They've got a different approach. You know, they like to be slow and methodical, get it right. So eventually, you know, when they do start rolling out all these different things that they're working on, I do believe that price action will respond accordingly. And so it's just a matter of time. I do believe that Cardano has tremendous potential, and we should not sleep on it.
Agreed. And moving away from Cardano, guess how much Bitcoin the U.S. government holds, Mario? I have the answer. I just want to give you a chance to guess.
I know they have a lot, but I don't know the exact number. I want to say maybe, are they in the billions? I think the last time I saw, are they in the billions, Abs?
Yep. It would be $10.5 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable, right?
Yep.
And they say Gary Gensler is unbiased.
Well, we just hope they don't start dumping. But the good news is now we've got plenty of interest of people that are going to want to buy. So.
Absolutely, guys. And is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Like, what's on your mind for tonight? I mean, we can go over some Bitcoin charts. We can talk about some interesting things happening with Ethereum as well. The Ethereum ETFs, we're going to see a supply shock, I think, happening in late March to early May. But, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Johnny, is there anything that you're interested in?
Yeah, I think the Bitcoin halving is obviously something to be excited about, talk about. With that thing right around the corner, 2 months or so away, that's going to bring, another whole narrative, if you will, to start bringing excitement back to Bitcoin. Because we had that first catalyst already, and that was the ETF. And as you just mentioned, that brought in about $10 billion or so, right, into the space. And you're just going to see a lot more come into it if you see the price start to move much higher once the halving comes, like it historically does. Because while, kind of like Yusko talks about this, men, we see things when they're moving. Well, the price was moving, but boy, it's going to really start moving when we get to halving. And I think that price movement will draw a lot more attention, because don't forget, right now, you now have more eyes than ever looking at Bitcoin because of the ETF. That has brought more people to the table. It's brought more credibility to the table. And now it's brought the spotlight to the table. So now when Bitcoin does something, it matters. It means more because more people are looking and watching now.
And we got breaking news right now, Johnny. Ethereum is over $3,000, which is pretty exciting. That just happened right now. What do you think about that before we kick it to Mario?
Wow, I mean, I'm not surprised that Ethereum was going to be next to follow suit. That's how it works. Bitcoin first, Ethereum next, and then all the other altcoins. So no surprise there to kind of see us break that threshold. Now remember, the one thing about pricing is it is all about psychological levels. And anytime you're over a 000, like a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 number, that definitely does bring, it becomes a psychological level that can either lead to continued bullish momentum or potentially bearish momentum. So we'll have to see how it plays out now that we hit that number.
And you know what's pretty cool about Brad Garlinghouse? Because I was just listening to the Bloomberg interview once again today. He said we would welcome the idea of an XRP ETF. So while I decided to focus on the BlackRock news, I think the more important thing is that Brad is acknowledging publicly that the company Ripple would be accepting of the idea of having an XRP ETF. I don't think we've ever seen that before. Mario, what's your reaction to that? Because, I mean, we were talking about this in 2020. 2021, it was lawsuit going forward. Now we're starting to talk about things that are actually positive for XRP and the ledger in and of itself. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that what Gonzo has been saying for a few weeks now, ties perfectly with what you just said. Like, I feel like we've been going through this phase the last few years where there's so much FUD, so much bad news around XRP, and like this bad like dark cloud over the asset and over Ripple. And now that we've got the half of it out of the way, where we know XRP is not a security, we know where XRP stands. Now things can move forward, but things haven't really moved forward at the pace that people would like it to move forward. And I think primarily what people are focused on is the price. And a lot of people have been capitulating and like selling their XRP and throwing in the towel and saying I've had enough of the XRP. Like my patience is gone. I'm seeing a bunch of people make a lot of money from all these different other cryptos, and here I am holding XRP for years. But I think Gonzo's analysis of it is spot on. I do think that this is an indication of a perfect time to get into this asset, because we could be finding the bottom, and it could be up from here. I mean, obviously anything is possible, but I do feel like we are in this type of moment where this extreme FUD is going to flip, and we're going to go into this extreme greed at some point, that XRP is just going to go up in price, and positive news is just going to flow into this into the asset. Because especially as April comes around and we get the Bitcoin halving, that's going to be a narrative in and of itself for crypto. And then we also have the final ruling of SEC versus Ripple, which also has an April timeframe to end. So I think all of it in a combination with like positive vibes around crypto, and people are excited, and a lot of people are making money, so they're telling their friends. And as Gonzo was talking about, like retail starts to come back, and Google searches, YouTube searches, and laser eye movements, and all that stuff that happens on X. So in a combination of all those things, we could see XRP move up in price. It could finally break that dollar that everybody's been wanting. And yeah, that's kind of what I see. Like I do feel like by the end of this year, XRP could be significantly up from here. For me personally, I'm expecting somewhere close to $2, assuming the crypto market continues to kind of follow the previous cycles. But yeah, that's kind of my analysis of what I see for
Mario,
XRP.
here's what I'm going to say. Just based off previous experience when it comes to XRP, one of the things that I've noticed is that Bitcoin drives the market, but XRP moves last. So it has the last impact when it comes to that liquidity flooding through Bitcoin. If I told people last year that Bitcoin is going to be $50,000, guess what the XRP price is? I think most of the community would have said a minimum of 80 cents. I think everybody thought we'd be sitting back above that iron wall of that 62 cent 72-cent XRP, trading at 80 cents, ready to go back above $1. But the frustration within the community right now is just based on the price, just based on us trading from 55 cents to 47 cents to 62 cents to 55 cents. It's too slow of a climb for the community to be excited about. And then the icing on the cake is watching Chainlink, Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana was the token I was looking for in my head. All of these tokens are pumping at a 7-8x during that time. And I know Cardano's another one that's slow to run, but the majority of these tokens have had plenty of gains. So I don't know. It's just interesting. What are your thoughts on that? How quickly things have changed when it comes to Bitcoin's XRP's relationship?
Yeah, but like think about it. Like as an investor, do you want to invest in a coin that's already done like a 10 plus X from its bottom, or do you want to invest in a coin that's only maybe like 2X from its bottom? I mean, for me personally, I would rather invest on the one that's done the least amount of gains, because we know that they typically tend to catch up. And I do believe XRP is going to catch up, but although I'm optimistic, I'm also prepared. So like I'm not going to be holding XRP for another bear market. I'm prepared to take profits, and I'm prepared to at some point, call it a day and be like, okay, you know what? I think that we've come to the end of the road for this bull run, and I am prepared to let go of a majority of my XRP at this point at this price. And so, like, I think it's more important to have a game plan, and it's good to stay optimistic, and it's good to have like your own thesis on what you think the market's going to do. And at the end of the day, it's just your thoughts, it's just your opinion. It's just, you've got to make up your own mind on what you think is going to happen, and then create an action plan. And I have one, and I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong for, the price action going up higher for XRP, but I do have a plan. And I think that, time will tell.
I just want to get your thoughts on this as well. The fact that last year, if I had made you, let's say we took a user poll on the show and we asked people, if Bitcoin's $50,000 when it was 25 grand, what do you think the price of XRP will be? I just think the community, if I'm giving them a low estimate, they probably would have said above $1, but I think people definitely would have said above 80 cents. What do you think about that, Mario? How quickly things have kind of changed?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I definitely would have said above $1, especially when we talk about the ruling that came out from Judge Torres on, the XRP in and of itself not being a security. I thought that alone was going to be enough to push XRP above $1. And so that, it didn't play out, but it's like I said, like anything can happen in the markets. Like there could be a black swan tomorrow. There could be like bad news. There could be like anything can happen. There could be the greatest news. And so that's why I emphasize on just being prepared. Like what would you do if the asset collapses? Like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit on your hands, or are you going to buy more? I mean, are you going to sell? Like just having that plan, like, what are you going to do if it goes up? Are you going to wait until it gets to a certain price? Like, are you going to take profits along the way? Like, I think just being mentally prepared for all different things that can happen. I think that's the most important thing. But you're 100% right. I would have said above $1, and again, now I'm saying we should be close to $2. And time comes around, end of the year, we may not be, but we made a prediction on Good Morning Crypto last week. We said, is XRP going to be above 54 cents? And I said jokingly, it's going to be 56. So I hope I'm wrong on that front.
Listen, Mario, just let me know, where do you keep your crystal ball? Because we could use that on the Good Morning Crypto show. And I just want to
I don't
remind
have one,
everybody
dude.
that this space is brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto. If you're talking about exit plans, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight right now, because creating an exit strategy is not that difficult. Your exit target could be as high as $589. It could be as low as 58 cents when it comes to XRP. But at the end of the day, if you pick a target and you commit to selling at that level, you're going to lock in profit, which is exciting. So I just want to remind people, 30 days, absolutely free. Click on the link down below. But Johnny Crypto, I saw you had your mic unmuted, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, I forgot what the hell I was going to say. What the? I was going to follow up.
It probably
Mario.
had to do with XRP.
I forgot Mario. Oh yeah, that's right. You were asking about, like what would it be if it I have to admit, if you had asked me that question and hey, when we got to 50K, what do you think XRP would be? I would have said somewhere between, I would have thought that we would be between 80 cents and $1. So kind of one of those things that, this is why you're seeing frustration from the XRP army, for the first time ever, because everybody's starting to realize why XRP isn't a security. It's not a security because it's a stable coin.
John, you didn't just say that.
Yeah.
I had to do a mic drop. I was
this
waiting
guy-
for the laughs, you know. I thought we'd get a
You
couple.
guys
Man, there's nobody here tonight, so there's no. I guess there's nobody joking. But the reality is,
No,
yeah.
I was muted. I was dying laughing.
You know, unfortunately, it has been behaving like a stable coin, and it just doesn't move. It's 55 cents, rock solid. It's somewhere in that zone. And but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those things where it'll sit here for a while. At some point, it's going to catch fire and it's going to take off, and it will happen right after most people get impatient and probably sell. I literally just did this the other night with Filecoin. I've been sitting on it for a long time, and there were a couple coins that I wanted to grab, and I said, you know what, I'm going to diversify a bit. So I literally sold some of my Filecoin abs about 3 days ago. And literally the next day,
did it, bro. Did it. What? I would have told you not to do that. It looked like it was just about to
Here's
move.
the thing,
literally,
too, Johnny,
I know, but I need.
After the Dominic story, you still did that?
Well, when I looked at my portfolio, that was one of my bigger holdings. So when you diversify, so I said I'm going to sell. I sold a little bit. It's like 10%. It wasn't a big deal. I was in serious green because I had been buying it around $3, $2. So I was like, all right, you know what? And then of course it moves like another $2 the very next day. That's exactly what's going to happen with XRP to most people. They're going to hold it forever, and they're going to get frustrated. They're going to sell it, and then when they sell it, it's gonna take off. So I'm not selling my XRP. I'm holding it. I'm waiting for the new narratives to come around, or some big breaking news that'll probably come out during the bull run itself when it's happening 6 to 9 months from now, and that'll probably give it a catalyst, a little cattle prod to send that son of a bitch flying. So yeah, I've been holding it too long to let it go at this point.
So, Johnny Crypto, it sounds like we're in a paradox situation. You're not willing to sell your XRP, but the moment that you do, it's going to go up in price. So I feel like
100%. Yeah.
it's our responsibility to the community to get you
Sell
to
it,
create
Johnny.
an exit plan and start selling below 50 cents. That's what I would say.
Not doing it. That's not happening. I'll create an exit plan.
Sell
I'm
it.
not selling below 50.
Have you ever heard of taking the bullet for the king? That's kind of what you'd be doing for the XRP community right now. You're running in front of the crowd. You dive. You're a hero, an American hero.
Yeah, you know what? Heroes don't live forever. So, oh, you know what? We'll let Dom take one.
Nobody lives forever, my friend. Hate to break the news to you.
Yeah. Heroes are overrated. Forget that. Don't.
That's why we talk about diversification, right? Because while we believe in XRP, it's one of my biggest positions. I had still been riding the wave of the other narratives, right? Of AI, render. We were talking about 40, 60 cents at 10x on a Solana, right? All the crypto gaming stuff. Super, we were talking about at the local bottom, and we've been writing that up. And so, and if you're you can either take those profits, leave them to the side, and get into other ones and keep riding the wave, or because XRP price movement doesn't move, if you're really a true believer, you can dump those profits back into XRP and buy more. I mean, but you have that choice, right? And then if XRP finally wakes up, because like I said, even though the price action has moved up from where we were, it feels like a capitulation event, right? With the sentiment, right? All the negative sentiment to me is a negative, is like a capitulation event. And when I watch the XRP Bitcoin chart, it has been bleeding to Bitcoin consistently. It broke its major support a while ago, and it has been bleeding out to the bottom. And then we see a reversal candle yesterday, and now a green candle, which to me is a bottoming structure. That tells me that at some point here now XRP is going to wake up and it's going to start to move, right? Because at some point, and it's policy, right? Because I believe the Fed is going to cut rates. I think that something is going to happen, whether it's a bank going insolvent or some other crazy thing. They need to remonetize the debt because they can't make the interest rate payments. So they're going to make an excuse to cut the rate, right? And it's going to be something bad in the economy that maybe the market prices in, maybe they don't, because the market's been pricing in these rate cuts. But what's been happening now, when they don't come, the market's been pricing them back out. And so I can see an event where they completely kind of price them back out, and then the event happens, and then they have to cut really bad. And so maybe we get a correction. We saw something very similar in 2019 with the chart structure, right? Where the Fed was holding rates at a certain level. They started to cut them, and then they dropped. It took a couple months for them to get back down to the bottom, and then we had all season. Then all season absolutely took off. But before all season, we had a small correction, right? Why did we have a small correction? Because the economy was falling apart. That's why the Fed had to cut rates, right? That was the narrative. And so I could see something very similar happening, but with people capitulating, that's when I pay attention. You can ask Waters above tomorrow, but I do believe it's the year of the X, right? We have the eclipse that's coming up, the Great American Eclipse. That's the X over Texas, and just a lot of different narratives that are coming to play. But you just have to be patient. It's all going to move, right? You just have to be there for when the move happens.
Patience is the key, my friend. That is truly the key. And I think somebody sent me a message the other day, Abs, and they said, Johnny, if there's one thing XRP taught me, it's patience. I'm like, yeah, XRP holders have definitely learned the art of patience. And hopefully they don't capitulate and fold now, because I think we're getting close to the reward time. And so, at this point, if you've come this far, you got to hold on. You got to hang on to that XRP and see where it's going to take you, because boy, you're going to feel horrible if you sell it and then it takes off in the next few days or weeks or months ahead.
And there's been plenty of capitulation, right, Johnny? It's not like this coin is exhausted during this bull run and it doesn't have room for growth. It's falling, and it's behind BNB, it's behind Solana. We're seeing projects like Cardano have steady runs, but I want to remind people that there's actually 9 billion more XRP tokens in circulation for this bull run than there was in 2021. So there was 45 billion in 2021. This time, there's 54 billion tokens in circulation. That really does speak for itself. Do you want to comment on that, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, we'd be sitting at another 20% higher in price, right? See, what people don't realize, and this is something, I literally had a one-on-one tonight. I was consulting a 3T warrior, and I was telling them that when you look at the price action, because he was looking at the price chart on coin market cap of a coin, right? And I don't know, the price was, I think, $20 back in 2021, and now it's at $1. He's like, oh my God, it's got a 20x to it that could go back up if it repeats 2021. And I said, you think so? He's like, yeah, look at the chart. It's $1 now, and it was at 20. I says, okay. I says, now why don't you click on the other tab called the market cap, and let's see what that looks like, because the market cap factors in the coins in circulation. And when you looked at that, you saw that there was only an 8x potential that it could go to match the same market cap. The market cap is the only thing that matters. Why does that matter? Because it factors in what you just said. Those additional coins that have now come into the market, that dilutes the value of, because anytime you add new coins, it's dilution. It brings the value of the price of the overall coin down. So that's why we like coins that have a max supply, because you can only bring in so many. You can only dilute so much, and then you run out of dilution power, or inflating, right, the coin value. So that's you're absolutely right, Abs. 9 billion additional coins in the marketplace is leading to a 20% price reduction. So right now we'd be sitting at, not that it's a big deal, but we'd be sitting around 65-ish cents, maybe 70, closer to 70, almost where we were pre-lawsuit.
Isn't that interesting, Johnny? And think about it. That kind of fits into what we were saying earlier. If you asked people last year what they thought XRP's price would be if Bitcoin was 50K, I think a lot of people would have said 80 cents. And you're saying that extra 20% on the 55, it's about 15 cents. So that takes us to 70. Yeah, it's not the exact same thing, but it is that same range. So I find that to be interesting. Gonzo, do you have any comments?
Yeah, and that's why, look, I know a lot of people feel like there's price suppression and conspiracies and stuff like that, but I stare at these charts a lot. And what Johnny's saying, that's why it's harder to move the price, right? But the other thing that I see is XRP, RME, diamond hands and stuff like that, but that's not what the price action or the charts tell us, right? We're talking about XRP, maybe we can get to 10%. It only bled out, right? It's down to 1.5%. What does that tell me? That tells me that people are not holding this token; they are selling it, right? So they could say what they want, but charts don't lie, right? The capitulation event has been happening now for a little while. That's why XRP dominance has fallen, right? Why is Bitcoin dominance rising? Why does it continuously go up? Because people are buying Bitcoin, right? They're buying Bitcoin and they're holding it. That's pushing the dominance up, right? And again, it's going to continue to go up. I think it can push up to 56%. And then the number I'm looking at is 60% dominance before it finally rolls over and we get that all season. And what will be the trigger for that? I believe it's the Fed cutting the rates. Not exactly the day that they start cutting, but a couple months after, once they bottom out, I think that's what kicks off the real alt season. And then, we see what we saw in 2019.
Here's what else is interesting, Gonzo. It's like people forget that there's bulls and there's bears. There's maximalists and there's really people who think we're going to zero. So during these bull runs, the entire time, there is going to be a subset of the crypto community that's betting on us going back down to 30,000, back down to 20,000. And that's kind of how you miss out. If you're waiting on the sidelines during a bull run, you miss out on the bull run. If you're sitting in the market during a bear market, you feel the effects of the bear market. So you want to be doing the opposite of what other people are doing, and we're going to make sure to do it this time around. Johnny, there's a lot that we can address when it comes to exit strategies. I just think it's more significant now because the market is starting to move earlier than it's ever moved before. For the first time with Bitcoin, we're touching the 0.618, 60 days before the halving. So that's the most bullish Bitcoin move we've seen more than 2017, more than 2021. What are some of your takeaways when it comes to having an exit plan? Do you think we could get a quicker bull market than people think?
What do you mean a quicker bull market?
Let's say, listen to this guy texting in the mic. It is so funny. But what I was talking about is how
I hear
we're
what
going to
you're
get.
saying, what I think you're right. If we don't build structure at that 36K and retest that support, I think it's going to run faster and harder. That means the bull run's going to be shorter, right? If we don't build structure, Bitcoin's going to run out of steam. They can talk all they want about like the spot ETF or whatever, but if it's an unhealthy chart, it'll only run so much before it comes down, right? And so we really need to start moving sideways and building structure, especially at that lower support, so that it can carry this into like the halving and into, what usually we see is past the all-time high and kind of like the end of the bull run, right? Or else it could happen faster and shorter.
Mario, floor is yours.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. I think Gonzo is spot on. I do feel like it would be good for Bitcoin to correct, and I have been feeling like we're in a little bit of a danger territory just because Bitcoin has been going up too much, and typically that means that we can come down very hard, and so like we're breaking a lot of these levels, which are uncommon for this stage of the cycle. And so if we really want to believe in the cycle, or if we really want the cycle to repeat, then at this point we really need Bitcoin to come down and correct so that we can, as Gonzo said, build a structure. And it could even be like a spring effect. We come down, we correct heavily so that then we could continue our upward momentum.
And that's kind of what I was getting at is I remember during 2020, the whole bull run took place before 2021. So everybody talks about in 2021, we went to 69,000. The bull run actually took place in 2020 when Bitcoin went from $3,500 to $30,000. I remember that in only 9 months. So I don't know. I hope that we're not doing that right now because it would tell me that we're closer to the end of a bull market rather than the beginning. But Johnny brought this up on Good Morning Crypto earlier this week. For the first time ever, we're going to have huge companies buying Bitcoin and holding it forever, not looking to dump every 4 years, not looking to make a quick profit. So that could change the structure of these markets. Johnny, maybe you want to expand on that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think is. I think everybody thinks it's just going to be the normal 4-year bull run cycle. I don't necessarily agree with the rest of the world. Or with that thinking that everybody thinks. I actually think that it does matter that the big boys are here to play. I think it does matter that now Bitcoin is no longer just something that people bought and sold and made a bunch of profit off of, and we're happy to see it drop 90% after the bull run's over. It's a different game now. It now is an asset that's held across 11 financial institutions, and it's the underlying asset of 11 ETFs. So the reality is that asset is going to get traded and moved around, but it's still going to have a home at some floor level versus before there was no need to hold it. There were no institutions that were holding it, and there was nobody that was going to buy it, except for when you were getting close to these bull runs. That's a whole different game now. So who knows what the next rounds are and what type of financial type of other solutions they'll provide for Bitcoin that could be out there. I think next you'll probably start seeing options trading and things like that on it. So who knows? I just think it's different. The fundamentals have changed. The players have changed. The sandbox has changed. Everything's changed. And to sit here and think it's just going to be the same normal 4-year bull cycle, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I'm just going to watch, observe, and play it based on what I see happening. I got an exit plan set up in Merlin. I do believe that one thing that may still be somewhat consistent is there will be, the so the way I think of it is this way. I think it's like you have a foundation, and that foundation just got bigger, and then on top of that foundation, you still get this 4-year bull run thing that happens, that should happen for the altcoins. I still think you'll see a portion of the Bitcoin funds being rotated in and out of. I just think the floor of that is higher than it would have been in the past now. And that's going to then look to or possibly lead to less volatility for Bitcoin because the floor has now been raised. So that's how I'm thinking about it, Abs. I would love to hear what other people think of. I see we got our man Only Up in here. I see he's a speaker. I hope he'll come up and tell us his thoughts of what he thinks is going to happen in this next bull cycle.
Cousin Vinny, we saw you run out of the speaker and go into the listeners. We'd love for you to come back up here. And Gonzo, I just want to get some of your thoughts as well, because there's something else that catches my attention when it comes to Ethereum. The supply shock is coming this summer. We're going to see a supply shock like we've never seen before, whether you hold Ethereum or not. And I think that's starting right now, as Ethereum just passed $3,000 as we speak. What do you think is a relatively, I guess, realistic estimate for what Ethereum is going to do while Bitcoin is creating new all-time highs?
I think that spot ETF narrative is going to be really strong. But what we have going on with Ethereum is obviously the more that the network is used, the more that it burns gas and it makes it deflationary, right? So that's one aspect. We have the staking narrative that's coming on. More and more Ethereum is being staked. When these institutions come up to buy up this Ethereum, they're going to want that yield, so they're going to stake it. We have restaking that's happening. So it's a way to take your liquid derivative of Ethereum and secure other networks. It's basically what they use it for, right? You get a yield off it, but basically that's what the other protocols are using it. So with the deflationary and the yield and the staking and all those things, that tells me that it's going to be a very good year for Ethereum, right? I'm still watching the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. That's kind of close to the bottom. It kind of has this run up and then kind of comes back down. So everyone's kind of waiting to see, is it going to hold that structure, right? Or is something going to happen to kind of break down the pair finally, have a final flush down? And this is what happened last time, right? Where Ethereum and Bitcoin, when it finally broke down, right? It broke down on a Bitcoin rally where dominance got pushed up. And then what happened shortly after that? The Ethereum USD pair had a correction. And so that's kind of what I'm paying attention to the pair, to see if that breaks down first. Because if it finally does break down that major support that everyone's been staring at, then that tells us where ETH USD could go, where we could get some type of correction. Not some crazy correction, right? But like you're going to get some type of correction. But overall, until that spot ETF gets called out there in May, whether it gets approved or not approved, I think Ethereum is going to continue to do well until May, right? And then therefore the ecosystem will do well, right? Proto-dank sharding is coming here, I think in March, all right, or it's coming here pretty soon. And so it's going to make the layer twos much, much cheaper. And so, I think that's going to be a run on the layer twos and the whole Ethereum ecosystem.
I agree with you, Gonzo. And before I let you go, I just want to talk about the XRP and Bitcoin pairing. Because there's a lot of things I see when I look at XRP in particular, and I see a lot of demand building up in the market. We're seeing the community get frustrated, but the market liquidity is heading our direction. So let me know what you see on the XRP and Bitcoin price chart pairing.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where we lost support a while ago. Like the major support that we've been holding previously, it broke down and we've just been bleeding to Bitcoin. That's what most altcoins do, by the way, too. There are your Links and Solanas of the world, but for the most part, most altcoins bleed to Bitcoin, right? And that's why you get these Bitcoin maxis, or just people that are risk averse that would rather just hold Bitcoin because they don't know which altcoins to pick, right? If you're in the market and you know which altcoins and narratives to follow, then yeah, you could probably make a little bit more money, riding the waves of the narratives. But it does feel like it's bottoming out. Maybe we have a little bit more to go, but at some point we hit the floor, right? And then once we hit the floor and we make the bottoming structure, the only way to go is up. And that'll mean that XRP will be running harder than Bitcoin. And so usually what we see is Bitcoin's going to top out, right? But it just depends on what happens with XRP. If XRP starts running harder, kind of like what happened to Solana and Link, where even though Bitcoin was still running up, those projects were running harder. So in their pairs, the other asset like Solana or Link ran harder. So it moved back to the top of the range. But it does feel to me like it's starting to bottom out.
Johnny Crypto, they call you, some people will call you the Cardano. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I almost did another Cardano joke, guys, but I feel like it's getting old. And I wanted to kick it over to our man Only Up because XRP's price chart is something I've been watching you talk about for quite a while. So I'll just give you the open floor about what your sentiment is for XRP.
What's up, guys? I appreciate it. Thank you. Great job as always. You guys are true professionals. Good morning, crypto, and all your spaces are definitely good job. Honestly, I'm looking at the XRP to BTC pairing. The low that has been put in right now is and some big influencers are coming out talking about buying millions worth down here. So I don't think that pair could bleed anymore. I mean, the last time it's clustered up down here, we broke out pretty heavily against Bitcoin. I think it did 3 or 4x. So I'm definitely interested in that. But also, going back to what Johnny said a few questions ago, I'm looking at, remember in 2021 when we kept saying, oh, institutions are in, the cycle is going to be different. And then boom, we saw the same 4-year cycle. But honestly, I think this time, with all 12, ETFs, like institutions are getting involved this time, and 401ks are starting to allocate. And I think, even though BCB today said that, double check your volume indicator on that because it was mostly sell volume, it really wasn't. For the price to achieve the same price it was prior to the drop means there was just as many buys as sells coming in today. So although I love BCB, I'm not with them on this one that the top is in, because I do think that this time there actually is institutional investment that's going to dictate it, which is going to be a higher floor, like Johnny said. Like, and you brought that up a minute ago. 35 was the bottom, right? And then 15 is the bottom. Well, now 25 or 28 is going to be the bottom. Although I think the pullback from 51 to 38 was interesting because you saw where people ran on the news and then bought back in at 38. So I think the floor for those ETFs that bought is probably close to 38. And any drop below 38 would just be a capitulation event, and I think it would be bought up pretty quickly.
Yeah, kudos to Only Up. Thank you for coming up and speaking. You were right. We all did think that institutions were, I guess this just goes to show you our own naivety or our own learning curve as we were going through it in 2021. That was my first bull run. And we're all like, yeah, institutions are coming in. Bullshit. We had no clue what the hell was going on. We thought they were, but apparently they weren't. Not like they are now. I mean, the reality is now they're really here. I mean, it ain't institutions. We're talking the big boys. The biggest of the biggest, baddest wolf of all is in the house, and that's BlackRock. They're here. They own the sandbox. Don't kid yourself, guys. BTC is the sandbox is owned by BlackRock, and so you can't ask for a bigger institution than that. They have arrived. They have positioned themselves. Let's face it. BlackRock has went and they bought. They were buying, and this is factual. Now you can go look at their 13K or whatever that report is. They were buying Bitcoin at 15,000. They were also buying the miners. They were buying Mara at $8, Riot at $8, Wolf at 65 cents. They were buying the miners back in June 2023. And what did they do in July? They went and filed for a Bitcoin ETF. There's a freaking shocker. That's how the big boys play the game. And that's why this is a whole entire different game than where we were last time around. So, will we still have elements of a bull run? Yeah, I don't think we're going to lose those. But have things changed? I personally think so. And I think it's going to be a little different. But we'll wait and see. Maybe that just means less volatility. Maybe it means more volatility. Maybe it means more manipulation. I don't know yet what it's going to mean, Abs. I just think it's going to mean something different, and we're gonna learn. But the problem is we aren't going to see it coming, because if we were able to see it coming, well, the big boys wouldn't let it happen. That's not how they work. They're not going to do what you think is going to happen. They're going to do what you don't think is going to happen.
Absolutely, Johnny Crypto. And I just want to point out something else. Think about, in 24 days, BlackRock was able, in and of itself, to accumulate $5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Imagine what the liquidity would do to cryptocurrencies like AVAX, XRP, XLM, Quant Network. $5 billion in 24 days is nothing. If you zoom out, they're going to own 5 to 10% of this market in only 8 months. That's unbelievable. And we talk about how people were used to get into Bitcoin for a decentralized asset. This asset is going to be controlled and centralized through the institutions. There's going to need to be a new narrative. I genuinely believe that. And I did have some other things on my mind, but I lost my train of thought just a little bit there, Johnny. What do you think about that, what I just had to say?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Abs, it's going to be one of those things where, you said something earlier that I wanted to actually go back on. I'm sorry. I remember now. You had said that when you were here earlier on, the bull run kind of happened pre-2021. In 2020, you had said we went from 3,000 to 30,000, and that was the 10x. But then we still had a second leg of that bull run for BTC, where it went from 30 to 69, right? But what you didn't talk about, and I'm curious, I don't know, maybe you just don't know, but when you said that happened in Bitcoin, did the alts also have their bull run pre-20? Because I remember when I got in, and I got in 2021, so I wasn't there in 2020. I remember the altcoins having bull run in 2021. I don't know. Did they also go through a similar bull run in 2020?
Nope, they ran later. So they ran in 2021. So it was really altcoin season happened in 2021. But my point is that, let's say you just heard about cryptocurrency on January 1st of 2023, and you bought that day. That means you bought Bitcoin at $30,000. And even during that bull run, when we were going parabolic, you only made a 2x. You put in $100, it was now worth 200. If you did the same thing with altcoins, you had an opportunity, and I have the charts in front of me. So let me just do the math for Ethereum. You had the opportunity to buy this token on April 1st at $500, and the peak of this bull run in 2021 was 4,800.
Almost a 9x. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my point. That was kind of the data there, because obviously Bitcoin goes first. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin doesn't have tons of momentum. Even if we did another 3x from here, that's $150,000. It's a huge number. I just think there's way more opportunity in a lot of these other altcoins.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree.
Dude, hey,
100%.
Abs. So all season kicked off, the total 3 kicked off, and it had bottomed out, right? It started bottoming out in June of 2019 when the Fed started cutting rates. They were done cutting rates by March of 2020, and that's when alt season kicked off. March of 2020 was where our bottom was, and we ran all the way up.
Yeah, let me just remind
100%.
everybody. The problem with 2020 is we have to remember 2020 was a weird year where you had this.
And the top came in at November of 2021. That was the top of the altcoin market. So it started running in March of 2020 when the Fed was done cutting rates. And then we ran up to May of 2021, had a small correction. And then the all-time high was in November of 2021. And then we started correcting from there.
Yeah. So the one monkey wrench in the whole thing that throws that whole equation off is in 2020, we had, obviously, we all know the C word, and we all know what happened in March of 2020. The Fed turned on the printing presses like they had never turned them on before, and they've been printing like they had never printed before. And so the problem is we're not getting that kind of printing this time around. And so that's what makes you wonder what is going to replace that form of liquidity. $2 trillion, I think, is what they printed. I'm not so sure we're going to get another injection of two. I mean, again, maybe the ETFs, but we saw the ETFs have brought in $10 billion.
Really quick, Johnny, that money is in circulation, though. That's what I love about the printing. It's not like it just evaporates into thin air. They printed all that money, and there's a $1 trillion stimulus package. Larry Fink addressed this. Remember his interview on Fox Business? There's a $1 trillion stimulus package that's about to enter the U.S. markets in March of this year. That's $1 trillion. You know what I mean? That's nothing to. I'm not saying it's going to change the world, but we've never seen a stimulus package that large, as well as everything we're going through right now with the spot products.
Well,
Pretty cool.
we have seen a stimulus package that large. We've seen it double that size in 2020 when we got the $2 trillion. And my point is, now we're going to get, okay, let's say it's $1 trillion. That's half of what we got last time. So where's the other trillion?
Just to be clear, we've never received $1 trillion stimulus package before. This is the first time that's ever happened.
Regardless,
I don't know where you're getting the 2 trillion number.
Because that's when they turned on the printing presses. At the end of the day, when they ended up printing an additional $2 trillion to inject into the economy when the entire world was shut down due to the C word. So What I'm telling you is, this time around, we're not going to see another $2 trillion of injection. Maybe $1 trillion, like Larry talked about, like played on the show.
Yeah, Johnny, but check this out. So whether it's them turning the printing presser on, whether it's the bank term funding program that they started last year that's going to end, or some other form of it, it's all QE, right? It's all QE, and it's all going to come back into the market. So maybe, they don't print as much money, but they always find a way to put it into the markets.
Yeah, well,
right? And so it's all QE.
That's my question, right? That's what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, we had 2 trillion last time. Will we get 2 trillion this time, and where will it come from? And like you're right, Gonzo, it could be different areas, but will they add up to 2 trillion? That's a big, big number. And we injected that much because the whole entire world was shut down. The whole world's not shut down now. So, what's the reason now to inject that type of money into the economy? Be very interesting to see what happens. Maybe if we go into war, that could be one of the reasons. Who knows? But that's a big, big number. And I don't think we're going to get it from the ETFs. That was my only point.
And this is what's so unbelievable, Johnny. So I'm going through a bunch of these articles from March of 2020, May of 2021. I didn't even realize. So we did several packages. Now, the way that they package these, some of them are stimulus packages. Some of them are economic emergency legislation packages. So the way that they preface this is to make it very confusing. Long story short, over $7 trillion from these articles that I'm finding alone in the C word, aid, relief, and economic securities. Like, this is unbelievable. This is an unbelievable amount of money. And the reason that I'm bringing it up is because it didn't just evaporate. I think it still exists in the market today.
Well, okay, but let me explain. So you had 7 trillion total printed from the C word, 2 trillion that found its way into crypto during the bull run at its max height in 2021. So the question is now, if you don't get that same level of injection, does that, can you get anywhere near 2 trillion? And that money that's in float is no longer in the hands of the people that are going to go and invest it and leverage it into crypto, because we know what happens when you put, what's the old saying? If you gave $1 million to everybody, it would end up in the hands of the top 5%. That money's already gone. That money's spent and gone out of the majority of retail's hands. And so it's all back up at the top, just like Mark Yusko says, 2.3 quadrillion. All goes to, you got the where he puts his hands together. It all goes to the top, and that's where that money is right now. And it's not gonna. That money, you can't count on that money being there to be reinjected in by the masses into this space.
Absolutely, Johnny. And we've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, guys. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who's made it with us through the entire program. This program is brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto. We take all of your crypto exchanges and wallets, provide it in one location, and allow you to create an exit plan so you know when to sell and lock in your profits during the crypto bull run. Best part about it, 30 days absolutely free, and you can use the tax estimate tool to figure out how much you're going to be paying in taxes during this crypto bull run. But Johnny, I want to give you a chance to say goodbye, and thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Great job as always hosting. You are the man. the host with the most for sure. Guys, if you haven't checked out Abs on Good Morning Crypto, you need to come and check out our show every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern time at the 3T Warrior Academy channel. You're missing out a lot if you aren't following that show. So follow us there. Follow all the speakers that spoke tonight. Gonzo, No Defender, Only Up, and everybody else, 3T Academy, 3T GMC, and yours truly. Follow us all for more information. We always like to share with the community, bring you guys up to speed. I would have loved to have heard more from the community. It looks like nobody wants to speak up, Abs, or come up and chat with us, but I guess we'll just have to hope that there's some more people out there for next time.
Absolutely, guys. And I just want to remind people, tomorrow on Good Morning Crypto, we'll be having Waters Above join the show. So if you come to these Merlin spaces, you're going to get special insight about GMC as well, which is pretty cool. But we love you guys. We'll see you we're going to have this space in 2 weeks, but if you tune in, we'll see you on GMC tomorrow. Have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Abs.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and Senior Engagement Officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.